Hello, welcome back to my channel, Unique World. And today I'm going to be showing you how I created this black and gold wreath on a budget. Stay tuned. Also, if you haven't already subscribed, go ahead and click that subscribe button so you can stay tuned when I do another DIY project. This is a wreath that I bought from Dollar Tree for just $1, and it is a 14-inch wreath. You will also need some pipe cleaners, and I got these from Michael's, but you can get them from Dollar Tree for just $1. Here we have some black ribbon mesh, and I bought this from Michael's, and it is 21 inches long. All the ribbon that you see came from Michael's. I tried to do like a black and gold type wreath, except this one. That one actually came from Dollar Tree, and this one came from Michael's. And I already had this one on hand. And that also came from Michael's as well. Alright, so I'm just going to start with the black ribbon mesh, and I'm just going to roll it out, and I am going to measure it. I was trying to figure out exactly what measurements I needed, and I decided to do like 2 rulers long. This mesh is simple to cut. I just went ahead, marked where I was going to cut it, and I went just straight down a line. Then I turned it the other way and I cut it at 10 inches long. So I'm just going to get a pipe cleaner, and I'm going to go ahead and insert it inside the second and first row. And I'm just going to tie it around to secure it and make sure that it is twisted on tightly and it's secured just like that. Here I'm just grabbing my mesh and I'm rolling it up just a little bit, and then I'm going to go ahead and scrunch it up and just keep scrunching it up or bundling it up. And once I get to the very end, I'm going to make sure that I roll up the other side of the mesh to form just a roll, and then I'm going to go ahead and squeeze it together, and it should look something like this. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab my wreath, and I am going to place it inside the pipe cleaner, and I'm just going to twist it around the pipe cleaner and make sure that it is secure. And I'm going to go ahead and spread it out, but you can also spread it out later. So I'm going to grab another pipe cleaner, and this time instead of doing the second row, I'm going to actually do it on the third row. And I'm just going to go ahead and tie it around, twist it around tightly, and make sure that this is also secure as well. And again, we're going to get the mesh and just repeat exactly what we did before by rolling it up and pulling it in together. Okay, remember, this doesn't have to be perfect, because at the end, when we fill everything out, it's going to be fluffed out at the end anyway. Now you're going to grab another pipe cleaner, and on part 3, you're going to put it on the second row, just like we did the first pipe cleaner. And you're just going to secure it together, and then you're going to use your mesh, and you're just going to roll it up just like we did before. I see a lot of business making wreaths, and I'm actually thinking about adding this to my product line, but I'll see how this goes at the end. Now you're going to get your last pipe cleaner for this section and put it on the third row of the wreath, and you're just going to tie it securely and use your mesh and roll it up just like we did before. I know many people use wreaths as a decoration for their front door. Do you guys actually change out your wreath depending on the season or depending on the holiday that it is? Let me know in the comment area what you guys use your wreaths for. Okay, so now that this section is done, you're going to repeat and do the same exact thing that you did for the other section to all the other 5 sections. So I'm going to be showing you exactly how to do the last portion of the wreath. And you got to kind of search around because the wreath is now full. And you're going to just place the last mesh inside the wreath. And this is how it looks when you have filled out every section of your wreath with the mesh. And look how full it looks. And you can just fluff it out as needed. Because I already had this ribbon, I wanted to go ahead and use it. And I wanted to also make sure that I had enough to make enough of the ribbons for each section of the wreath. So I was just estimating what I needed to make 5 ribbons, and this is what I came up with. The ribbon that I cut out came out to be about 11 inches long. Now I am going to grab my ribbon, fold it in half, and I'm going to cut just a section to create a bow. And I'm going to do it the same thing on the other end to create that ribbon bow look. And I'm going to do that for all of the ribbon that I do cut. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut my pipe cleaners, and I'm going to cut it in 5 different sections. Now it is time to lay out your ribbons to create a bow effect. And I'm just going to line it up how I think it should look, but you can put it in a different pattern or any type of pattern you would like. But I'm just going to use this pattern, and I'm just going to squeeze it together at the center, and I'm going to actually use the pipe cleaners that we touched, and I'm just going to use it to just form a tie in the center of the bow. So this is what it's going to look like after you do all your ribbons. And I actually forgot to cut the corner of this one to create that bow effect. But this is exactly what you're going to do for all 5 ribbons. Now it's time to gather your ribbons and place it on the wreath. You're going to use the loose pipe cleaners that you have sticking out of the wreath, and you're just going to tie it to the ribbon, and you can fluff out your ribbons how you like it to look. Now I'm going to be using my 5x7 photo picture frame that I bought from Dollar Tree. And this is the pre-cut image that says welcome. I'm just going to place my adhesive tape across the vinyl. And I'm just going to go ahead and pull it up to show you that it's going to say welcome. And then I'm going to place it on top of the picture frame of the glass. And I'm just going to press down. And I'm going to pull up slowly to make sure that everything sticks. And this is permanent Oracle 651 vinyl. Now that it is pressed onto the glass, I'm just going to remove the back of the picture frame because I don't want to see the back of the picture frame. I want it to be clear, and I'm going to go ahead and place it on top of my wreath in a place that I would like to see the wreath. And I'm going to actually use a stapler, and I'm going to staple the back of the picture frame with the pipe cleaner. And be mindful of where you staple your wreath at, because I accidentally staple it way too hard. As you can see, the indents on the other side. And this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use the, see, that's where it's at, but this time I'm actually going to go ahead and use the pipe cleaner, and I'm going to use the edge or the corner of the picture frame instead and staple that down, so now you don't see the indents. And I'm just going to do the same thing on the other side of the picture frame with the pipe cleaner. And I'm just going to use that same corner as well, so you don't get an indent on your picture frame, because these are kind of thin and they do come from Dollar Tree. So now I'm going to place the picture frame directly on top of the wreath, and I'm going to get that pipe cleaner, and I'm going to attach it to a pipe cleaner inside of the wreath to make sure that I twist it together to make sure that it's secure and it does not come loose. And it's hard to kind of show you exactly where I tie them together because the wreath is pretty full, but you're just going to feel around for a loose pipe cleaner, because at the end, once you tie the pipe cleaners with the picture frame and the wreath together, you're actually going to be cutting the pipe cleaners off so that you don't see any loose pipe cleaners within your wreath. And then I'm just kind of making sure that everything is secure for each corner, because you do have to tie 4 of the pipe cleaners together on the wreath. Since I use a picture frame, what other items do you use for your wreath when you decorate your wreath? Or if you don't decorate your wreath, what would you use? Yay, and here is the final look of the wreath. I got this wreath stand from Michael's and it was very cheap, and I'll leave that in the description as well. But look how full and pretty it looks. Honestly, it kind of reminds me of Halloween in a way, I guess because of the black and gold stripes. But that's okay because October is coming up, but I am really feeling how this looks.